A battle is brewing at Bank of America where shareholders vote Tuesday on whether CEO Brian Moynihan should lose his title of chairman. I'm joined by Michael Pryce-Jones, Governance Director of the CtW Investment Group. Nice to talk to you, Michael.
Likewise.
What's the big issue at stake with this vote?
The big issue is whether this board really needs to learn from lessons from its past, or whether it needs to show collective amnesia and kind of anoint Moynihan chairman for a body of work which is still unbecoming of a successful CEO. And I think it speaks to whether this board is really in touch with shareholders and shows a good governance IQ.
In fact, you give three very specific reasons why shareholders should vote against this proposal that was okayed by the board nearly a year ago at this point. What are those reasons?
Well, I think this company has a very mixed record. Obviously, it's not where it was when Moynihan took over, but this company still has to show sustainable revenue growth, sustainable profitability, and it faces a lot of strategic challenges which really need a kind of board which can ask the tough questions. It also is going against the trend in governance and goes against the company's own history in going back to a combined role, but also the decision back in October to unilaterally amend a shareholder bylaw amendment just shows a board which is absolutely out of touch with its shareholders. And the fact that it took an effort just 2 days before the May annual meeting to stave off an even larger shareholder revolt at that meeting, that's how we've come at this September vote. So it's a board which has really dragged its heels and failed to recognize shareholders' concerns around this issue.
Would this vote happen at all if Bank of America was keeping up with its peers in terms of performance?
I think it would. It's very rare to rescind a bylaw amendment which has been put forward by shareholders. And, even at JP Morgan, where Jamie Dimon has, a reputation which is probably higher than Moynihan with a lot of investment managers, that still caused a huge concern in the past over his positions of both CEO and chairman. And it's strange, but nothing's got easier for big banks over the last 6 years. And so it's strange that any company would take the step backwards in providing for a CEO who's also the chairman.
But of course, we see that in other industries.
Yeah, Bank of America is not any other company. And I think that's what concerns shareholders the most. They may point to the marketplace, which, it's a toss-up whether you have a combined CEO and chairman. But Bank of America, unfortunately, is not in the median. It's not the peer average here. It faces huge challenges. We've had shareholders who have called for the breakup of the bank. And it's impossible to have that discussion in a frank way without a board which is independent. And that independence comes from the top, and that needs an independent chairperson.
If you're Brian Moynihan, given all the uproar over this, why even try to hold on to both titles?
I think that's the question mark. It seems like the board threw him under the bus and he's going to come out bruised. Nothing's going to come of this for the better for Brian Moynihan. If it's a close vote, but they still win, he still has question marks over, whether investors trust him as the chairman, even if they trust him as the CEO. But also the board itself has to really go back to scratch and rebuild its favor, its credibility with investors.
Do you think he could be permanently damaged regardless of the vote?
Regardless, well, unless it's a resounding victory, anything above 70%, he really has to go out and make the case to investors that he can be a good chairperson. And I still think the board would have to go out and really continue to consult with shareholders whether that still remains the best situation. Remember, this proposal is actually about giving the board flexibility. So even if it's approved, the board could and should still be under pressure to split those two positions.
Michael Pryce-Jones, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Rhonda.
I'm Rhonda Schaffler for The Street.